Epic Universe continues to improve and expand, and now it appears that the long-speculated Citywalk 2.0 could finally be on the way. Hello everybody, welcome. We have been talking about a second Citywalk at Epic Universe since before the park even opened. And now it looks like we're getting a peek at what this next version will look like. Epic Universe continues to expand and has largely been considered a massive success for Universal. However, it's going to take a few years before Epic Universe really settles into its own and becomes this massively popular and successful area like the original parks, Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, and Citywalk. Having those two parks right next to each other with this spectacular Citywalk between the two and this easy access large parking structure is really just hard to beat when you take everything as a whole. You just don't have that at Epic Universe. Epic Universe is sort of siloed off on its own as its own theme park and isn't really easily connected to the other areas of the Universal ecosystem right now. But we have known for a while that something else is going to be coming. This sort of concept around Citywalk 2.0 is inevitable. But it's probably a little bit further down the road once they start building a fourth park next to Epic Universe. I want to throw up my map here that I created that shows all the different distinct areas of the additional 750 acres that they purchased around Epic Universe. And what we've been speculating are their plans moving forward. You can see Epic Universe there, that sort of space in the center. Right below that to the right, you have a Citywalk, then you have a parking structure there. And then to the right of that, we have a speculated fourth theme park. So you'll end up with something very similar to what Islands of Adventure, Universal Studios, and Citywalk are today. The way that they're building Epic Universe and using that space is exactly what they did with Universal Studios. They opened Universal Studios. Later on, they added Islands of Adventure as they got more property. Then they eventually added Citywalk. They converted their surface parking lot into a parking structure, parking garages, and now you have that ecosystem. They've added hotels and things around that. They're doing the same thing with Epic Universe. At least that's what I've been speculating. Building Epic Universe. Then once it's time to build a fourth theme park, they'll start building that. They'll create a Citywalk between the two, convert the surface parking lot into parking structures, continue to add hotels, and now you have a second large ecosystem. And so I've been saying they're not quite ready to create a Citywalk 2.0. Instead, it seems like they are considering this more open hub concept that we've talked about in the past. I've been reporting out on this open hub concept for years, even before the park opened. I even did a video very recently in the last few months where I talked in detail about this concept. But we now have new information that shows that they are actively testing the technology behind this open hub concept. And there's been a lot of conversation on if or when they were going to start using this technology. I believe there is a problem that exists with Epic Universe right now that they are exploring this concept as a way to resolve. When Universal first embarked on building Epic Universe, they really took some time and changed the way they think about restaurants and food in their theme parks. If you look back at Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, Universal has about 23 different restaurants. Islands of Adventure also has around 23 different restaurants and snack booths and things. Citywalk itself has around 23. It varies because things open and close, but there's a lot of different choices when it comes to food. Epic Universe only has about 19 to 20, which is a pretty decent amount. But only 2 of those are full service, sit-down table restaurants. Everything else is quick service. Disney, on the other hand, has tons of full service. They have a completely different model when it comes to restaurants and food at their parks. And Universal has, for years, actively sort of stayed away from going too crazy on full service restaurants in favor of doing quick service. However, their food really hasn't been up to par in the existing parks. Some of their snacks end up being better than a lot of the restaurants. But overall, it really works for the existing parks because they have Citywalk. All those additional sit-down table service restaurants, if you are hungry and you're at Universal Studios, it's very easy to just walk outside and go eat at one of the restaurants like Vivo or Bubba Gump Shrimp Company or Antojitos, and then go back into one of the parks, or maybe even when you're transitioning between those two parks. They don't have that at Epic Universe. They only have 2 sit-down restaurants in Epic Universe, the Atlantic and the Blue Dragon. Everything else is quick service. However, they knew this was going to be an issue, and so they upped their quick service model to almost feel like table service, but still get you that in and out experience where you don't have to spend too much time sitting down at a restaurant. You can get in, get out, get some good food. It almost feels like a table service. It's very nice experience, and they have a lot of restaurants. They added a lot of quick service into Epic Universe. And this would have worked perfectly, except for one thing. They don't have annual passes for Epic Universe. Disney and Universal are designed to work with annual pass holders. There is only ever going to be so much demand for single day tickets and vacation packages, people traveling from out of state, out of country to your park. There's only ever going to be a certain amount of demand. There will always be downtime, off seasons, times where people just aren't visiting the parks for whatever reason. And in those cases, you need annual pass holders to cover those gaps. This is also why you see discounts for things different times of years. You see it at Disney, Universal, you'll get special hotel package prices, free dining experiences, things like that. They're offering all these discounts because they know that these are going to be downtimes for them and they're trying to draw more vacationers in. There's always going to be gaps. Annual pass holders fill those gaps. And because Epic Universe doesn't have annual passes, we have a problem. Epic Universe is not hitting the capacity that I believe they expected to hit by now. Their expectation was probably somewhere in the 45 to 50,000 daily visitors at Epic Universe. And right now we're only seeing about 20 to 25,000 visitors a day. Well short of that sort of capped out attendance that I think they were hoping for. And this really is because they're not getting annual pass holders, because there are no annual passes. And quite frankly, they can't really support annual pass holders. I don't think that they were expecting by now to still not have annual passes. I think they thought annual passes would be out by now, but they really can't support annual pass holders yet because they just keep having problems, capacity issues, operational challenges, rides going down. They don't have even enough rides, I would say. They need to add some additional rides, which is why you see expansions already in play for Wizarding World of Harry Potter. You see Super Nintendo World potentially going to be adding a new thing. They know they need to increase the capacity of the parks. They just aren't there yet. So they can't support annual pass holders yet. And so this has created a big problem for them. And it is all about the food. I've been talking to a lot of people that work at Epic Universe in the food service industry, and their restaurants are dead. They are dead in the back half of the day, especially after 4 p.m. Basically, the restaurants are mostly empty across the board. This goes for their sit-down table restaurants for sure, and also a lot of the quick service restaurants. And so you're even starting to see some of the restaurants and snack booths and things closing early before the park even closes. And what's happening is the people in these restaurants, the people working in these restaurants, some of them are quitting outright. They're just leaving and saying, I can't make a wage here. I can't make a living at these restaurants. Whether it's I can't get enough hours at the restaurant because we don't need as much staff, or I can't get enough tips and things because there's not enough people coming in. I'm not getting enough tips and wage from this restaurant. And so they are actively either quitting the restaurants or asking for transfers over to restaurants in other parks like Universal, Islands of Adventure, Citywalk, because they aren't able to fill up these restaurants. In the beginning, it started off pretty good. Everybody was running to Epic Universe, buying their tickets, willing to throw a lot of money at the park, spending time trying all the different restaurants. But now that things have sort of settled down into a rhythm, people aren't visiting the restaurants as much, and they're just grab and going things like from a lot of the snack booths. And they're just not seeing the traffic in their restaurants, especially in Celestial Park. So how can they fix this problem, get more people into Epic Universe, into their restaurants, and fill in some of those gaps while not simultaneously crushing all the attractions and the overall experience for the daytime guests, people who are paying for a ticket to get into the park? And that's where this open hub concept comes into play. They built Epic Universe with this open hub concept right out of the gate. It's been built in since the very beginning. Every portal at Epic Universe has what I'll refer to as turnstiles. There are these spots in the ground where they can stand up photo validation scanners. This is built into Epic Universe. This is different from the gates that they open and close to the portals. They have an ability to open and close the portals using these gates. This is different. This is a turnstile / scanner type technology that they can sort of plug in right there in those little stops in the ground. And again, they have these at all 4 portals, and they also have them in front of Stardust Racers and the Constellation Carousel. And what these scanners would allow you to do is to potentially open up Celestial Park for shopping, eating, maybe even watching the fireworks and water shows, enjoying the evening at Epic Universe in Celestial Park, but not access into the other hubs, into the portals, unless you have a ticket for the park. The public with no ticket to Epic Universe could potentially be accessing the park, Celestial Park only, and doing whatever they want in that space without having a ticket. Now, they've been using these scanners for a while at Universal to get into their parks. You basically scan in. You don't need to have a ticket. You don't have to get anything out. You basically just walk up, it scans your face and tells you whether you're allowed to go in. So they've been using this for a while, and it looks like they've now started testing this at the entrance to the different portals. And this technology is fantastic. It works really pretty well. I've used it quite a few times. Sometimes they've been asking for a ticket, sometimes they don't ask for a ticket. It just depends on the day. And it's really needed to reduce the chance that there's like a big line of people trying to get into the portal. You don't want to wait to get into the portal and then leave and then go to another portal and have to wait in line to go in the portal. That's a really bad experience for people who have paid for tickets. So this would allow them to you just walk through, and on your way through it's scanning and making sure that you're good to go through because you have a ticket. So this would create what I refer to as a Citywalk 1.5. It's not really Citywalk 2.0, it's kind of in between. And as I said, they've been testing this recently, which means they are thinking about implementing it in some way. But there are a few possibilities for how they could be using it that isn't quite just letting anybody into Celestial Park. The first most obvious one for me is it has to do with annual passes. We've been talking about the need for them to let annual pass holders into Epic Universe. Let us in, we have annual passes. We'll buy an annual pass add-on. Probably no matter how much it costs, we're willing to buy it. Let us into Epic Universe. Their first usage of these scanners could be for annual pass holders only. If you have an annual pass to Universal, they may be thinking, let's let annual pass holders into Celestial Park to enjoy the restaurants and the shopping and the fireworks and the water show and everything that they're going to be adding, and not even charge us a fee. So not even add like an additional cost onto our annual pass, but if we have an annual pass, just let us into Celestial Park. That would be really interesting to me because there are a lot of things. I've been wanting to eat at Pizza Moon. I want to just go and enjoy the park. I don't even necessarily need to ride any rides. I just miss being at Epic Universe and I can't keep paying a price to go every single time I go. This could be a nice perk or bonus for annual pass holders. Now, my assumption is this ability would probably exist at a certain point in time. So like maybe after 4 p.m., maybe after 6 p.m. If you're an AP holder, you can get into Celestial Park and walk around. However, they could also be thinking about allowing just the general public. Anybody can come in regardless of if you have a pass or not or a ticket. You can come in after a certain point in time, maybe like 4 p.m. As I said, you can go in and enjoy the Celestial Park. That's another possibility for what they could be thinking. I think that one is going to be a little bit more challenging because you're going to have a lot of people flooding in. Annual pass holders, I think, would keep that number down significantly, while still, I think, conquering one of their biggest problems, which is how do we fill up some of these restaurants without crushing the park. Another possibility for why they're testing these scanners could be for special events. So they could be planning special events at some point or special VIP type access. Maybe even like after hours type events. So if you think of like a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party that they have over at Magic Kingdom, anybody can be in the park from like open to close. But then for people who have special tickets for the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, you get a wristband and you're allowed to walk around and enjoy the whole park for a few hours before it closes, and also a few hours after it closes. So this could be a really easy way for them to do something similar at Epic Universe, where they're having special after hours events, and for people who want to go into Dark Universe, say 5 minutes after the park closes, all you have to do is just walk in there. You don't have to have a special badge or a wristband or something. You just walk through and it tells you, yeah, you're here, you have a special ticket to go to the extra after hours party. You can go right in. You don't get stopped at the portal. Could be another way they're using it. And then the last way that they could potentially be doing it is thinking about incorporating this reservation system I talked about with regards to annual passes. So if they're thinking about providing annual passes as an option, again, that's going to really smash the park pretty hard. So this might introduce a reservation system, not just to go into the park, but you may need a reservation to get into a land. We've seen this over in Universal Japan. There was, for a period of time, there was, if Super Nintendo World was too busy, you had to have a special reservation to get into Super Nintendo World, or get a reservation to come back later because it's too busy. They could be thinking about doing something similar for Epic Universe, allow annual pass holders in, but then you have to potentially have a reservation to get into each of the portals throughout the day because maybe it's over capacity or it's too busy and they may need to shut it down and try to manage the traffic. So that's another way they could potentially be thinking about using these scanners. We know they've been putting out surveys regarding annual pass holder options, the reservation system. So this could be a next step naturally in the evolution of what they're thinking there. So if they go this way, this does not mean that there won't be a Citywalk 2.0. I still believe that 2.0 is going to happen, and then you think Celestial Park could become a natural extension to Citywalk 2.0. Think about going from their 4th theme park and maybe some sort of like Celestial Park type experience, leaving there, going into Citywalk 2.0, then going from there into Celestial Park, all in a very seamless sort of transition, which almost gives you like a Disney Springs type experience where it's a very large, vast network of restaurants, shops, etc., fireworks show, water shows, all sorts of stuff to bring more people into that area as a retail shopping and dining experience. You could also potentially see them adding like individual attraction tickets for things like Stardust Racers and Constellation Carousel. We know that Universal just recently started selling individual express passes for an attraction, similar to Disney's individual Lightning Lane for special attractions. They now have an express pass version of that for Universal that they've been selling and testing. So you think about that, and the next logical step there could very well be, if you're in Celestial Park and you're there for free, but hey, you know what? Stardust Racers has super high capacity and usually is a walk-on late at night. They could start selling individual tickets for you to just go get on Stardust Racers for, $15 or something for a one-time fee. That's also a possibility. I think this is why we haven't seen the new Italian and Mexican restaurants open yet. We know that they created space for them in Celestial Park, but they haven't opened them yet. Maybe they're just not ready to be open. Maybe they slowed that project down. Maybe they're kind of waiting to figure out how to get all the other restaurants filled up first before opening new restaurants. We'll just have to wait and see. So overall, this is my take. I think the scanner stuff, they're testing it. I think it's going to start to be used in some way, shape, or form. Could be the Open Hub, could be the Citywalk 1.5. Love to hear what you think and what are your thoughts. Do you think that's a good idea or are you outraged? Would you be in favor of the annual pass thing I was talking about? I think that could be pretty cool. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Hit me down in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share till I see you next time. The Noble Way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.